In the summer of 2017, Crystal Palace stunned many by appointing Frank de Boer as the club's head coach. The football manager has been a four-time Dutch champion with Ajax and former Inter Milan boss. The Eagles had just scraped to safety under Sam Allardyce, and chairman Steve Parish touted de Boer's promise to implement a modern, possession-based style at Selhurst Park. De Boer himself was ebullient, hailing it as a great honor and an exciting opportunity to lead Palace's proud and passionate fan base. He claimed to have done his homework on the team and squad, and vowed to bring an attacking philosophy reminiscent of Barcelona's approach. The man had said, "In the Barcelona time of Pep Guardiola, everybody's involved with attacking, but also defending. That's what I want to bring to this club." Chairman Parish even warned bluntly that some people in this room won't have a job if we get relegated, emphasizing how desperately the club needed a plan for sustained Premier League survival. Yet from the outset, there were signs that Palace's squad and de Boer's ideas were a poor fit. Palace's best players, like Wilfried Zaha, had long thrived on pace and counterattacks, not the slow, possession-heavy build-up that de Boer admired. The manager stubbornly stuck to his principles. He later explained that, on advice from Louis van Gaal, a coach should never abandon his philosophy after one loss. "I always stick to my principles," he insisted, arguing that being faithful to his ideas did not mean he was inflexible. In fact, de Boer started the season in a 3-5-2 formation to try to make Palace more solid and let creative players roam. He claimed this was meant to achieve defensive solidity while allowing the team's most creative players, especially Wilfried Zaha, to devote most of their energies to attacking. He even changed to a back four at halftime in 2 early games. In press conferences, he argued Palace was already passing forward more quickly than his old Ajax sides. Nonetheless, many observers felt de Boer was forcing an Ajax model on a players unsuited to it. Zaha himself finally confirmed this in an interview. He admitted de Boer wanted to make Palace into a team that had more possession, but some players aren't as comfortable on the ball as he would like, so it didn't really help us at the time. The key point, Zaha added, was that there wasn't really the right mixture of players for the way we wanted to play. In other words, the tactics simply clashed with the personnel. The gap between de Boer's ideas and Palace's reality became painfully clear in the opening month. Palace lost all 4 of their first Premier League games. They lost at home to Huddersfield, then away at Liverpool, and back home to Swansea, then away at Burnley, and in none did they even score a goal. Huddersfield thumped them 3-0, Liverpool edged a 1-0 win, Swansea won 2-0, and Burnley won 1-0. In total, the Eagles conceded 7 goals and scored none in 4 matches. They got 0 points, 0 goals, and that for any coach was a catastrophic start by any measure. However, they did manage 1 win in a League Cup tie against Ipswich during this spell, but in the league they were completely pointless. By September 11th, 2017, the board had seen enough. With Palace still lying in 20th place and still goalless in the competition, de Boer was sacked just 77 days after being hired, a reign of only 5 matches that became the shortest in Premier League history in terms of games. Chairman Parish and the directors turned to veteran Roy Hodgson the very next day. On the field, Palace's slide continued under Hodgson. They lost 3 more games and remained at the bottom before finally winning in October. But de Boer's legacy was sealed by those awful opening results. Inside the club and in the press, the early season implosion triggered disbelief and frustration. Former Palace chairman Simon Jordan, who had originally opposed hiring de Boer, called the decision to fire him after just 4 league games nonsense. Jordan argued that coming from the Eredivisie to the Premier League is a vast departure, and giving de Boer only 4 games was absurdly short-sighted. Many fans and pundits echoed that view. Given more time and investment, perhaps de Boer's long-term project might have had a chance. Parish himself tweeted reassuringly that football teams lose games. "We know we are better than this," trying to deflect panic. But outside voices had little sympathy for de Boer. Most of the stories in Britain treated the episode as a farce. After an ill-considered remark by De Boer about Marcus Rashford in 2018, Jose Mourinho famously piled on, calling De Boer the worst manager in the history of the Premier League. Mourinho noted that De Boer lost every game at Palace, summarizing the record as 7 matches, 7 defeats, 0 goals. The Guardian later dryly headlined that Premier League clubs had pulled off a genuine coup by hiring him. Even though De Boer's short, calamitous spell at Inter had been a shocking setback, in media rankings of infamously brief tenures, his name sits near the top. Palace's supporters were more measured but still bewildered. After the losses piled up, Chairman Parish appealed on Twitter for everyone to stick together. The players publicly echoed unity, but it was clear in private that confidence had evaporated. One journalist noted that during the opening game defeat by Huddersfield, De Boer visibly struggled to inspire the crowd or the team. By early September, even some Palace players confessed that the speed of play and tactics did not suit them. De Boer's Palace tenure is now routinely cited as one of the most ignominious in Premier League history. In fact, his 77-day reign with just 5 matches was among the very shortest. 442 listed him third shortest behind only Les Reed's 41 days at Charlton and Rene Meulensteen 75 days at Fulham. Those examples had their own woes as Reed managed just 1 win in 41 days. But unlike Reed or Meulensteen, De Boer's record is unique in producing 0 league goals. After De Boer left, Palace spent the rest of September without scoring a single league goal, a dubious run that finally ended under Hodgson with a win over Chelsea. While a few other managers have been in charge for short spells, none suffered such complete collapse so quickly. De Boer's record 0 points and 0 goals over 4 games is statistically the worst 4-game start to a season. Even in statistical rankings, he was noted as the worst team start after 14 games in 2017 to 2018. In Britain, the phrase worst manager in Premier League history is now almost a cliché, often used tongue-in-cheek, but based on that painful snapshot in 2017. To understand how this happened, it helps to contrast De Boer's Palace chapter with his broader career. In the Netherlands, he was a hot prospect. As Ajax's coach, he won 4 consecutive Eredivisie titles from 2011 to 2014 and impressed observers with passing football. Big clubs like Liverpool and Tottenham reportedly showed interest in those years. His twin brother Ronald and others argued that a short interspell and then Crystal Palace have been stumbling blocks that would ultimately strengthen him. Indeed, at his Palace unveiling, De Boer downplayed his recent failures. He said, "I learned a lot from Inter, promising to bring that experience to South London. But moving abroad had always been risky. De Boer had never managed in England before, and the Premier League's pace and pressure are famously different from any league in Europe." Former players and pundits noted after the fact that he shouldn't have gone to Inter or Palace so hastily. The squad quality and timing were always in question. In Holland, by contrast, he was a rising coach. More recently, he found success in the USA with Atlanta United, winning the Major League Soccer Cup in 2018, though even their critics complained about his rigid style. By mid-2025, De Boer is recognized as one of the go-to coaches for teams wanting style and possession. Yet the Crystal Palace episode remains the permanent stain on his resume. As one columnist put it, Palace pulled off a genuine coup by hiring him. The suggestion being that an astute board normally wouldn't have bungled so badly. De Boer himself tries to maintain perspective, saying simply that only time would tell if he was the right man. But to most observers, the facts are in. After just 4 league games, he had scored nothing, and every other Premier League manager, from legendary to luckless, has managed something. Palace quickly pivoted back to short-term pragmatism under Hodgson, leaving De Boer's grand experiment as a cautionary tale in the history of the division.